guess at about the next hour or so, probably subsequent to the interview. And I'm very warmly joined here by Oleg Seydak, who is the founder and CEO of Blackmoon. And we're very excited to have both the Blackmoon project as part of QUOINE and Cryptos, and to give the opportunity to learn more about Blackmoon from Oleg. So welcome, Oleg. Yeah,
thank you, Seth. Great to be here.
Great. So Oleg, I just want to, I want to first give an opportunity for everyone to get to know you personally and a little bit about your background, starting off in financial services. Can you tell us, how you got started in the industry?
Yeah, sure. So I started my career 15 years ago, and at some point of time, I found myself as a manager of a venture capital division of an investment firm, after being a consultant and a programmer, developer, like IT developer, etc. So after some period of time, I became a VC guy. I led a couple of funds, and I was a managing director of one of the oldest and largest private equity firms in Russia in IT sphere. And in 2013, me and my previous boss, we joined forces and created a venture capital firm. Together, we raised capital, 100 million. We were quite active investors in Israel and continental Europe and United States. And a part of our portfolio was related to financial technology sector, and specifically alternative lending sector. And just after some preparation, I raised another fund from friends and families and started investing in alternative lending sphere. So in 2014, 2015, I concentrated on a new project, building a solution for institutional investors which were interested in investing in alternative lending sphere. The original company was created and named Blackmoon. Just during our development, the company now operates in 9 countries, has a growing volumes, etc. But we faced several issues and several things we decided to focus on. And one of them was just how to. There were several questions. So first of all, lending companies were continuously looking for additional capital, and fund managers who were our clients was interested in actually how to onboard crypto investors, so holders of cryptocurrencies, into their funds or use them as sources of capital for lending operations. Okay. That's one. Second, actually, we as a fund manager ourselves, we found out that traditional capital markets and traditional financial tools are very ineffective when it comes to creating tradable and transferable tools which can be used to distribute interest in funds. So raise capital and communicate with investors, with clients of fund managers. Finally, just once we took it together and looked from a high perspective on the background of emerging of the blockchain technology and advantages related to the blockchain technology, we just found out that it's really possible to create something brand new, start from the scratch with capabilities of blockchain technology and advantages of it, and develop a new type of a vehicle, new type of investment instrument, which will help funds to raise capital and investors to get an access to a really diversified, unified and global set of investment opportunities from all around the world. Again, in transparent and unified way. That's how we came to the idea of the platform, a one-stop solution for asset managers that provides a tokenization, I would say, service and tokenization tools for investment funds to tokenize themselves. and issue these units of interest in form of crypto tokens. That's how Blackmoon was created.
Okay, so what was your sort of first point, sort of your aha moment where you thought that the problems that asset managers currently have are better solved with a blockchain?
It was not like, okay, maybe it was at some point of time, but generally it was just an aggregation of a lot of data points. I personally just was involved in creation of structured nodes and their listing, creation of several alternative investment funds, both private and public, so retail funds, etc. So I just, during my career, I faced all these issues related to bureaucracy, related to costs and timing, etc., which takes to pass all the bureaucratical barriers that the traditional investment world has. And at some point when I just noticed that effectively blockchain can allow us to issue a depository receipt. There is a concept of depository receipts in the traditional world. A depository receipt on any type of underlying asset. And there are like a huge army of, asset managers who are eagerly looking for additional tools how to distribute their products and how to interact with customers. So they're interested, they already have some power, they have customers, they have legal, regulatory environment and regulatory powers to participate and help us to build this project. So that's, yeah.
So tell me from an asset manager standpoint, if I was starting up a new asset, if I was a new family office or I'm an existing asset manager, what is the advantage of me to going to the Blackmoon platform and creating my fund within the Blackmoon platform? And then on the other side, what is the advantage for the end users if their asset manager is tokenizing via the Blackmoon platform?
Great. So first of all, let's the first question: what tokenization gives to asset manager and ultimate investor? So we need to start with that because just the second question is easier. Why asset manager shall go to us and not just try to do it himself? But so the tokenization gives several major advantages to a fund manager. First of all, so it's access to new sources of capital, global source of capital. It's impossible to imagine something comparable in traditional world, because just for UK asset manager to onboard a Brazilian investor from Brazil or Mexico or Vietnam, I don't know. So just it's almost impossible to do it in the same in the so convenient way like it could be done through blockchain. So source of capital, crypto, which includes also holders of cryptocurrencies, transparency and unification. So these tokens is a unified interest, unified share. Receipt, depository receipt on a share in the fund. It's just a convenient. An additional source of capital. Also, it creates liquidity. So it's a secondary market and transferability, which is very important for fund managers when they present their funds. If a fund has limited liquidity, additional transferability of shares gives additional advantages to holders, to investors. So that's just. But for investors, for fund managers, the main point is that they can attract more clients in a more convenient way.
Sure. And I just remember, I remember in one of my finance classes how securities or assets that are liquid, you have two assets that, all things being equal, the liquid asset may be valued by up to 30% more than the illiquid asset. So is that part of the value that you're unlocking by tokenization as well?
As we see in a coin market, in a crypto market, just by looking at coinmarketcap.com, whatever source of, it's not 30%, it's 30x. Because just well, even things that, okay, but it's a philosophical question. Yes, first of all, like access to additional sources of capital, both geographically and like crypto versus fiat, like this things, it's what asset managers are looking for. That's first. For investors, it's liquidity. So people much more interested in liquid investment opportunities just because the risk, profit, reward and proportion is much better when you have a liquid asset in your portfolio. After all, it's hard to imagine that you lose 100% or like 98% of your value. If that's a liquid asset, it can drop like Bitcoin dropped like from whatever 17 to 8. It's very like hard like strike and kick for holders, but it's not 98%. It's not like complete disaster. People can still like recover at least half of their investment.
Right.
Though it's really hard like situation. So liquidity decreases risks themselves. Also, tokenization gives investors globally and access to all the opportunities on options in understandable and unified way. So where they can look at not at like 40 pages of small like size text when they need to understand all the subscription agreement, etc. In most cases, in a language that they don't understand. Token gives some unified value, provides some unified value with like several rules, like when you can create this token, how you can create, how you can redeem, how you can sell, how you can trade, whatever. But it just can be summarized at one page.
Gotcha.
And now answering your question, and again, so it can be achievable, and just again, a person in Brazil, Mexico, Gibraltar, whatever, can invest in a fund managed by US, UK, Singapore manager with attraction, with history, etc. On answering your question, why both of them should come to us and not like try to do it themselves? It's just a matter of scalability. Building and maintaining the compliant and like structure with a high-end technology is extremely costly, resource-consuming, and time-consuming. Effectively, we see that some funds, for example, I will not give names, but it's open information. Some investment funds, they tokenize themselves and try to build a proprietary procedures and solutions for their own tokenization. But what I can say, first of all, it costs a lot. And it just simply doesn't pay back to create a proprietary solution for a fund itself. Also, the lack of maintenance is very important. Regulation doesn't stay at one point. It continuously improving and changing. It means that a structure should be adjusted by a professional team which works on it like continuously. For a fund, just to create an initial MVP of tokenization, including legal costs and technological costs and things like that, the expenses will be about 100,000, like 100 grants at least, just for the beginning.
Right.
It doesn't pay back, and it requires expertise that is not available on the market. So it's a scalability thing.
Gotcha.
For investors, they can. Within our platform, they will be able to get a pre-scored, carefully chosen propositions with tested technology, within like unified instrument, with all the things that they will just need to learn once and then use.
So tell me how the BMC token is utilized within this ecosystem by the entities that are creating the tokenization of their funds, and how the people who are, the end users of the funds, how does BMC fit into the ecosystem?
Sure. So the BMC grants its holders a right to participate in a continuous development of the platform. So actually, there are two main functions. First of all, the concept of continuous contributors. It provides holders a right to participate in the development and execute a role on the platform. We're about to present and introduce initial set of roles. It could be considered as just as a partners of the platform, a global partnership, where holders of BMCs are partners of the platform, and the platform operator notifies the community on roles and areas where a holder can help the platform, and in exchange for this help, holder and contributor will get a portion of fees generated by the platform. That's the first function of BMC, and effectively in midterm, it means that any professional player, and we actually building the platform. We not intend to be the only service provider and concentrator of all services on the platform for the long run. We expect to invite independent KYC providers, exchangers, asset managers, and just issuers of tokens, etc. So all the people who will want to use the full platform and execute some function within the platform, it will require BMCs. That's first. Second, fees on the platform will be also nominated in BMCs. We will simplify it, in some cases we'll just require people to pay in Ether or any other currency, but we are, for example, we are partnered with Bancor, and we have their smart contract on our platform and within the website and within our ecosystem. So any fee received by the platform will be converted in BMCs automatically. And that's why, by that mean, it will still be nominated in BMCs.
So as the process of capital formation occurs on the Blackmoon platform, there will be more demand for the fees for creating the tokenization, and that will then drive demand of the BMC tokens themselves.
I would say, yeah, completely correct. I would say that there is no problem with demand. It's more about adoption. Once market will start adopting the concept, not as just a vision, but as actual tool, it will just change everything.
Gotcha. So let's talk about that. Now, so I was reading in some of the papers that you had written, the asset management industry today has 500,000 people employed. I guess that's a global number. That sounds like a lot of people, with $2 trillion of capital deployed, right? So how are you approaching these traditional asset managers or family funds or hedge funds, and how are you convincing them to approach and adopt the Blackmoon platform and to tokenize their funds?
The honest answer is that there is in most cases we don't need to approach them. I mean, of course. So there is some sweet spots on the market, but what we noticed, they come themselves. They just because the informational flow and people already aware of the blockchain. Most financial professionals and most forward-looking people, they're all aware that blockchain exists. As fund managers, in most cases, they're very interested how they can benefit from this emerging technology and sphere. So they are actively looking for solutions and people who can educate them. As they find us. At the same time, of course, we are building our awareness of the company, and we still there's still a lot of things that should be done. But I can say it's that way. Once it's up and running, and it takes incredible amount of detailed tuning and adjustments and legal process. But once it's done, and we have first 2-3 working business cases, it will be just a different conversation completely, because what we are talking about is that sweet spots are larger asset managers, larger fund managers with billions and billions under management. They much more interested in history and like the size of set of documents which we have on our site. They probably will not read them, but they need to know that we have like all these hundreds and hundreds of policies and 20 people in compliance department at least just to start talking with us.
Gotcha.
Once it's done, there will be no limits for the project and product and the project itself. We just need to start, and we are doing like everything that is needed to finalize this preparation.
Well, when we start to see that migration to the Blackmoon platform and mass uptake of BMC tokens, I hope you'll still take my calls, Oleg. Let's talk about where you are on your roadmap and what are the next sort of key milestones that your team is currently focused on in the project.
Yeah. So we do our best to release the platform, and I like 90% sure we'll do it without delay. So before the end of March, to release the platform and introduce first set of funds and start like building the book for them. The platform will like almost certain we'll release the platform and start inviting people. So collecting the KYC AML like forms and application just to verify them and be ready to start selling tokens, fund tokens. End of March is our main milestone, just to release the product, release the platform in a full operational, like, but still not like not last version, but let's say it's advanced MVP. So it will allow creation of tokens, redemption of tokens, roles of continuous contributors, etc.
Gotcha.
The next step, the second major...
Sorry, if I could just ask you there, if I could just pause you there. So can you give us some color about the initial the types of funds that are going to be offered in that early stage in March? So what are the kinds of funds that people might be investing in?
Actually, we have about 8 options, but we'll choose 2.
Okay.
Probably, so there will be 2 funds, 2 maybe 3, but most probably 2 funds in the first set that we'll present and just start evaluating the interest, the exact interest. We also don't want to distract the attention of the audience, and so we do our best to, I would say, guess, actually collect all the information, but still guess what will be the most interesting product for the community. So types, we have actually 3 areas: very liquid funds like ETFs, index ETFs, tradable on New York Stock Exchange, London Stock Exchange, whatever. So tradable ETF that could be tokenized. Second, like a middle class from liquidity perspective, hedge funds which could be tradable or with at least monthly liquidity. It means that they monthly calculate their net asset value and allow redemption, so they buy back the shares at least monthly. And low liquid funds like types of private equity, real estate, art funds, etc., but with with their own specific economics and nature and like ability to redeem in kind. So there's 3 areas. We'll choose one of all 3 or from 2 areas. So I believe that we'll need to present and introduce a very liquid fund, which will effectively provide an alternative from our perspective to objects like USDT, for example. So something very liquid with understandable pricing and audit, after all. Audit that will confirm that we really hold these assets, and like brokerage reports from the broker, which we can present. So yes, we have this like shares of S&P 500 index ETF, so on our brokerage account, and we are ready to send them and redeem. Yep. So the second major milestone, which will take like 2-3 additional months, I mean, so it's about 4 months from now, is a trading platform. So an original project will allow to create and redeem. I use these definitions. It means like to create, it means the investor buys token from the issuer, and redemption, investor sells token to the issuer. So create and redeem tokens, like that will be in initial functionality. But what we are looking for is, and what is very, very promising for us, is giving a trading instrument like an exchange for holders to trade between each other. Mm-hmm. That creates enormous like amount of potential arbitrage just between traditional market and crypto market. Transparency, liquidity, market making opportunities, all these elements. But the nuance here is that our tokens are asset-backed tokens. So building such a trading platform is very legally complicated stuff.
Right.
We have several options, and we are working on them. So we will do our best to introduce a trading interface just like within several months after the initial launch.
Sure. And I think, going into the sort of the next phase of crypto world is really, I think you touched on it, sort of legitimate tokenization of real world assets. And I think one of our challenges, and really the industry's challenge, is to be able to demonstrate in an auditable, confirmable manner that any asset represented by a token, there's that real clear linkage, as opposed to some of the fraudulent instruments that are out there today, which we do not offer on our platform, nor will we ever. I'm very proud to say that. Not ashamed that we don't have USDT, and we never will. But I also feel like, being here in Japan, where we deal with the regulators, obviously Japan's been very progressive about licensing cryptocurrency exchanges. I think the really progressive regulators in the world understand that at some point that it's a good idea to tokenize all sorts of securities, not just currencies. And I can see that is a, it's a next step in terms of your asset, in terms of building an asset-backed exchange as well. So what jurisdictions do you see as being progressive in terms of allowing for the trading of asset-backed tokens?
There are two answers on that. The simple answer is Gibraltar, Cyprus, UK, probably USA. I believe it will lead the party after all. Japan, of course, we all know about that. But I can name Belarus, for example, because I just. But that's. And at the same time, the problem here is that when it comes to cryptocurrencies, it's something really, really new, something that was not effectively exist before. Right. And that's why players right now can actually live without regulator almost. They just there was not regulation for that. Those days they live in an area without regulation, and regulation will come. And so current players will become major players, major exchanges or investment banks and etc. So in 10 years from now, that will be not really possible to create something similar because the regulation will create barriers. So at the same time, for security as asset-backed tokens or security tokens, we need to separate them. So one asset-backed, like you tokenize a car, then I don't think that it will be hard to trade it. But when you're talking about securities market, it's highly regulated, and all barriers are already in place. It means that when one wants to actually to build a cryptocurrency exchange, then Gibraltar DLT regulation or Japan regulation or even things that we see in Switzerland, they're applicable, and it's relatively easy for now. But when you try to create a security token,
Sure.
then regulator can at any point of time come and tell you, hey, just, we have 100 years of legacy here.
Yeah.
Would you be so kind to comply with it?
Right.
That creates additional frictions. At the same time, the demand is so huge that I believe will make it happen. Maybe not today, but tomorrow for sure.
Sure. So I want to bring it back a little bit to to very personal discussions you and I have had. You're, for instance, the BMC token is already available on other exchanges. What sort of was the genesis of reaching out and wanting to sort of work with Cryptos and with QUOINE? And how does that fit in with your overall philosophy on compliance and security and the development of your project?
Great question. Let me just decompose it. Maybe just why we executed the token sale. Maybe that's an important question. Of course, like capital is very important, and it's extremely resource demanding area. So any legal firm which we just need to have, because otherwise people will not listen to us. We need to be backed by these names. They ask like twice higher rates just because you are from this area. So capital is very important, but also there are at least two very again important things. First of all, issue 3. First of all, community. Token sale is very important to build the community and to ensure that the community is there. So people are effectively looking for your product. So you can we have to collect this community to ensure its existence. So that's first. Second, when we are talking with fund managers, they're interested in fundraising or like our ability to go and find the community. So when we tell them, hey, we've done that, it's completely different conversation. We just come to them and tell, hey, we have like 3 venture capital funds and 10 million in equity investment. So we have money, but we haven't done it yet, and we don't know how to find all these crypto investors, etc. So just we'll do it for you at first, as first clients. And now we can tell, yes, we have like several thousand people in our community channels. We sold tokens to 9,600 accounts, etc. So it's just different conversation. Last one is actually, and community also important. We introduce the concept of contributors, and it's very important to have thought leaders and just people who will spread the word and who will help us with building this thing. So that's all elements. And finally, we tried what we can do in a blockchain environment. We built the team. We created wallets. We created all the process of accounts, receiving cryptocurrency, working with banks, exchanges, etc., on conversion purposes, lawyers. So we tried it and we tested before we actually went to the main product.
Sure. Fantastic. Oleg, this has been a real pleasure. Thank you very much for sharing your background, the drivers for the Blackmoon platform, how BMC is going to be used in it, and what's coming up on your roadmap. We're very excited to have you and the Blackmoon team and BMC listed on the Cryptos exchange. It should start trading, I think, within the next 30 minutes. And we wish you the best of success. And thanks again for telling us the story.
Thank you, Seth. Thank you. Hope it will be very successful for all of us.
Great.
Okay. Have a good day. Thank you.
You too. Bye-bye.